shelter I'm going to show you how to make using our space blanket here is a simple lean-to. A lean-to is going to be a shelter that 1 or 2 people can spend the night in, and it is really going to be beneficial if you have a fire in front of the lean-to so that the space blanket can reflect the heat from that fire. Otherwise, you lose too much heat. So this is a shelter that you can build with a space blanket when you also have the ability to build a fire. So to make a lean-to shelter, we're looking for 2 trees that aren't too far apart from each other so we can string up our ridgeline in between. Remember, we're also looking for a nice flat area of ground, and the first step is always to put down some nice bedding using dry dead pine needles or dry dead leaves. Since we already did that with our wedge shelter, we have that all set to go, and now the next step is to tie our ridgeline between the trees. So let me show you the knots and how to do that. To start our ridgeline, we want to put the rope about at the height of our waist. So our first knot is going to go around the tree right here at waist height. This is called a Siberian hitch. To make our Siberian hitch, we're going to swing the end of our rope around the tree. Remember, we're going to tie our knot right around waist height. So we have our working end, the end of the rope that is loose that is going around first. This is called the working end. So the Siberian hitch is a nice slip knot that we can use to start our ridgeline. What we want to do, we're going to have both ends coming around the tree, and our working end is here on the right. I'm going to take my left hand and drape both ends of the rope over my left hand. The working end, I'm going to wrap this up and around my fingers like this. So one more time, I'll show you. The working end is wrapped over your fingers like that to create a loop. Now, from here, what we're going to do, we're going to tilt our fingers down and back up around the other side. And we have our working end here. We're going to make what we call a bite. A bite is when we make not a loop, but just a little fold over in our rope. And we're going to pass the bite through the loop that was around our hand. So we want to tighten this all up by pulling it, and then we're going to tighten this to the tree just like that, nice and tight. So as I said, here's our working end. The best thing about this is a slip knot. So if I give this a good tug, it all comes loose again, and it's easy to take down. So I'm going to show you one more time. Put our working end around the tree about waist height. The working end and the leading end are going to be wrapped around our hand in our left hand. With our right hand, we're going to take the working end, wrap it around our fingers, hold it in our right hand down here. We're going to hold it with the loop. We're going to tilt our hand down towards the ground, tilt our fingers down towards the ground, bring it around, tilt our fingers up towards the sky, make a bite with our working end, and then we're going to pass that bite through the loop, pull everything nice and tight like that, and then we're just going to tighten this up to the tree. That is our Siberian hitch, and that is half of our ridgeline. So now from the one tree we're going to bring our line over and we're going to wrap it around our next tree. Remember, we're looking for the line to be around waist height, so right here should be pretty good. The next knot we're going to need to know is called a trucker's hitch. This is a knot, it's a quick release knot that we can use to pull this line and get it nice and tight. Alright, so to begin the next part of our ridgeline, we need to make a knot called a trucker's hitch. To make a trucker's hitch, we're going to start on not the working end, this is the standing end. So my working end is over here in my right hand. We're going to start over here on the standing end, and we need to make a loop in the middle of this rope. So the way we do that is we want to give ourselves a little slack. We're going to start about 3 to 4 feet out from the trunk of the tree to give ourselves enough room. So give it a little slack. What we're going to do is we're going to take the rope, we're going to make a loop just by taking the end closest to the trunk of the tree and kind of folding it over the end farthest from the tree. Now that we've created that small loop right there, we're going to take a bite from the standing end, and we're going to take a, oops, hold on, there we go. We're going to take a bite from that standing end, we're going to pass the bight up through the loop that we've created, and we're going to pull that down like that. So now we've created a loop that we're going to use to put the other end of the rope through and tighten this up real tight. Now, just like all these knots, this one is a quick release knot. This is a sliding knot, so just got to pull it and it comes undone. So let me show you one more time. We have our standing end. Gonna start 3 feet out from the tree. Give yourself some slack. You're gonna make a loop like that. Make a bight, pass the bight up through the loop. And we're gonna tighten that down. Now we have a loop that is in our standing end. So once we have this loop, we're gonna pass our working end through the loop. So, got a lot of extra cordage here. I'm gonna pull the whole working end through. Just like that. All right, so now our working end has been pulled through the loop that we made on our standing end. All right, to finish this trucker's hitch off, we want to pull nice and tight. We're going to use the loop that we created right here for leverage and pull this in tight to the tree, making our ridgeline taut as a guitar string. To finish this off, we need to pinch where the loop and our working end meet. We're going to pinch right here, hold that in place. There we go. We're going to create a bight with the working end, and if you can see, we're going to pass that bight underneath and tie that off like that. So just like the other knots we've used, this knot is a quick release knot too. Just pull it and it comes undone easily. So once again, pull this down nice and tight. We're going to pinch where the loop meets the working end. We're going to make a bight with our working end. Put that bight over the edge through the loop that we've created and pull that towards the loop to tighten that up, just like that. Now our ridgeline, nice and strong and sturdy. All right, now that we have a strong ridgeline up, we're gonna put our tarp, our space blanket, over it to create the lean-to, leaving just a little bit hanging over the front, and we're gonna stake down the back 2 corners with tent stakes. So there, we're just going to leave a little bit hanging over the front to act as a way to keep out more rain and more wind that way over the top. So we're going to take our tent stakes here and stake out the back corners right to the ground. Remember, we always put in our tent stakes at a 45-degree angle. So we've got our back 2 stakes into the ground. Our back 2 corners of our shelter, of our tarp, are staked in, but our front wants to keep falling off of the ridge line. So we're going to tie 2 additional lines to the front corners of our tarp so that it can go up and over the top and that we can stake it down in the front. For this, we're going to use a different type of knot. Let me show you. So to attach our guy line to the loop on the corner of our space blanket, we're basically going to pass our working end through, and then we're just going to tie a simple overhand knot with both pieces of rope now that are coming in. So I'm going to make a loop just like that, and now we're going to pass the working end and the standing end through the loop we just made. Pull out all the slack, pull it all through. So we've made just a very simple overhand knot. I'm going to pull that tight, and now we have our line attached to each corner, well, to the first corner, and we're going to do this again on the other corner to attach our guy line to the edge of our blanket. All right, so the final knot that we need to know how to make to finish off our shelter here is a sliding knot that'll hold its weight. This is called a taut line hitch. So we're going to put a taut line hitch at the end of each of our small guy lines so that we can adjust how tight the tarp will be. So you want to take your working end, you want to bring your working end around and make a loop. Now you want to leave yourself a good amount of slack here at the end to work with. About 7, 8 inches, 9 inches of slack. So you make a loop, you pinch where you've just made that loop. Now with your working end here, that's going to be passed around the back of the standing end once, around the back of the standing end twice, and pull it through. So it's hard to show you, but basically we now have that. So let me show you again. Make a loop with the working end, giving yourself plenty of slack. Our working end goes around once and through, around twice and through. And that last time around, you bring it around, put it around the back of our standing end, and pass it through the loop we just made. So now, when we tighten all this up, pull this tight in all the spots, we've now created a taut line hitch. This is a sliding knot that you can slide this anywhere and it will hold the weight. So you can make the rope longer, you can bring it back, make the rope shorter. So this is really helpful when putting stakes in the ground to make sure that you have the stakes nice and taut. So now that we've put a taut line hitch on the end of each of those guy line ropes, now we have everything in place that we can erect our lean-to shelter using a couple tent stakes. All right, so now the lean-to is up. The only thing left to do is to push all of our insulation down underneath as a bed. All right, so now we have our lean-to shelter up. We have a nice bed of fluffy, dead pine needles underneath. That's gonna insulate us from the cold ground. And where I'm standing right now, we've cleared out an area so that we can build a fire right here. We wanna make sure we clear out a very large area so that the fire doesn't accidentally spread to these dead pine needles and put us in serious trouble. So you gotta remember, the lean-to being an open shelter, in cold weather, it doesn't have much insulation value without a fire. The reason you build the fire, the inside of our shelter, remember, is that metallic silver, and that is designed to reflect heat up to 90%. So by building a fire right here, it's gonna catch all the heat from the fire and reflect it back down to us right on the bed where we're sleeping. So this is the type of shelter you want to have a fire with for it to work properly. That's very cozy. So the benefit to these shelters made using our space blanket, we got reflective surface on the inside here that's reflecting the heat from a fire, our own body back to us. On the outside, we have that bright orange color. This is going to actually act as a passive signaling device. So even as we're staying out of the elements, as we're getting some sleep or getting out of the rain, we're still going to be signaling by using this bright tarp that can be seen from above, can be seen from the air. So this shelter is actually serving a lot of purposes: to keep us warm, to keep us dry, and as a signaling device. All right. Ooh. I've worked hard today, time for a nap. Comfy.